Okay, what we're doing for today is how to draw regression lines, but when you switch the x and the y coordinates. So you can actually get two different regression lines. Okay, so one of the regression lines is going to be the y on x line, and then the second regression line is going to be the x on y. Okay, all right, so the one you use depends on which variable you wish to approximate. All right, so for example, if I'm going to use this regression line, then I'm going to be given x and I'm going to approximate y. So this one would be, you'd be given the x value and you want to estimate or approximate the y value. And that's what we've been doing. Okay, so this one would be new now. So now this would allow you to, is if you were given y, then you could approximate x with it. Okay, so it all depends on what you're trying to approximate. All right, so when we this one, so what it allows you to do is you can get the y, you can approximate the y value when you're given the x value, and this one should say you can approximate, this should be the x value given the y. Right? So when we're looking at these, this is our line formula for a line. Okay, in this case, your x is your independent variable, and y is your dependent variable. Okay, then when we switch that, now x becomes our dependent, and y becomes our independent. Okay, this coefficient here is your slope, and this constant, that's going to be your y-intercept. Okay, on this one, that's going to be our slope, and c now is going to be the x-intercept. Okay, now to do these on our calculator, okay, you're gonna, on this one, it's nothing new. Your x list is L1, your y list is L2, and you're going to store your equation in y1. Okay, and then for this one, all you're going to do is you're just going to switch the lists. You don't have to retype them. The X list now you're going to make L2, and the Y list L1, and you're going to store this equation in a new spot, Y2. All right, so let's take a look at what this looks like in an example. So you've got scores from 10 students from their English IB class and then their Theory of Knowledge class. Okay, and it says use technology to help you write a regression equation of y on x and one for x on y. All right, so what we do is the first thing we're going to put these, we're going to enter these. This is L1, this is L2. Okay, so let's enter these into our calculator. So we'll say enter, make this, this is L1, this is L2. Okay, and we'll plot those on here as well. So it says show both lines on a scatter plot with the English score on the horizontal axis. Okay, so this is English, and then over here is Theory of Knowledge. So I'm going to plot these, and then I'm going to put them into my calculator. Okay, so we got 2, 4, 3, 5, okay, and so on. Okay, so I plotted my points from this data. Now I'm going to take these and enter them into my calculator for L1 and L2. So I'm going to clear my lists, L1, L2, whoops. Okay, and now I'm going to put these in. So the English goes in my L1. Okay, then you're going to plug in these to L2, your second row. All right, so now we can get this linear regression line. Okay. So the way we're getting the y on x is we got our x list is L1, our y list is L2, and we're going to store this one in y1. Okay, so now I go stat, calc. Okay, I want this to be L1, this one to be L2, and then I'm going to go store regression line, variable, y variable, enter y1. Okay, and now go down to calculate, and there is my y on x linear line of regression. Okay. Okay, so that's going to be Okay, now if I want to see what that line looks like, turn on my stat plots. They're already on. Then I go zoom 9. There's my scatter plot, and there's my line. Okay. Now, I already had my second line in there. That's why I graphed the second one, but we haven't done that one yet. I'll clear that. Zoom 9. And that's what it should look like right now. Okay, now we want to sketch this on our drawing. Okay. So this one has a y-intercept of 1.92. So 1.92, that would be about there. Okay, now its slope is 0.76, so that's a little bit more than half, and then over 1. Okay, now the other way I can get a point that's on this line is I can go trace. Right now it's tracing the data points. If I use my up arrow key, it's now tracing the line that I just stored. And so this kind of gives me points that are on that line, like 6 and 6.5. So I can kind of use that to get my second point here. So 6, 6.5, it's going to go through something like that. Okay. Okay, so there's my first line. This is my y on x. So I can use this one if I'm given y, or I can find y given x. Okay, so this one's going to allow me to find or to estimate or approximate, okay, the y value, which in this case is the TOK, given the English score. Okay, now we're going to do the second one. Okay, the X on Y line. Right, so to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to make our X list now L2, and we're going to make the Y list L1, and now we're going to store the equation in Y2. Okay, so it's not a whole, all you got to do is just switch. If I go stat, calc, 4, now I'm going to change this to L2. So the L2 key is right here. So I go second, 2, that makes that an L2, and then go down, second, L1, whoops, second, L1, and then I'm going to go down to store, variable, Y variable, enter, but now move down to Y2. Okay, and now calculate, and there's my second equation. Okay, so that is going to be X equals, even though it says Y here, it's X because we're doing the other way around. Our slope is 0.902 Y plus 0.139. Okay, now we want to graph that. So everything's already set up. So this is in Y2. So if you look at, there's your second equation. So I'm just going to go zoom 9. Okay, there's my first equation, and here's my second. Okay, so now to graph that, okay, this is going to be our x on y equals, whoops, x equals 0.902y plus 0.139. Okay, and this one is going to allow us to estimate the English score given the TOK score. All right, so to graph this, remember this is the x-intercept now. Okay, this was our y-intercept. Okay, so to graph it, I'm going to start on the x-axis right there. So 0.139 is going to be real close to the origin, but on the x-axis. Okay, now I want to get a second point on this line. So I'm going to go trace. Okay, right now it's tracing the data points. Now it's tracing y2. Now it's tracing y1. So we want it on y2. Okay, now I'm just going to hit trace, and I want to find a pair of points on it. That one's not too bad to use. This is 6 and 5.5. That's kind of easy to graph. Okay, so 6, 5.5, about there. Okay, and now I'm going to connect these two. And there's my second line. All right, then the last two are find the predicted TOK score. So to find TOK, I'm going to use this equation. And then for this one, I'm going to use this equation. Because it's find the predicted English score to the nearest whole number if you're given the TOK. So this one here is going to be y equals, and I'm going to take the 9 and put it in for x. Okay, and then for this one, and I'm going to put the 8 in. And now work these two out. Okay, now we can also just do these on our calculator. So remember, this was in y1 and this one was in y2. Okay, so I could just do this. I could go second, quit, clear my calculator. And then for the first one, I could type in y1 parenthesis 9. So variable, whoops, clear, second quit, variable, y variable, pick 1, and enter 9. Okay, and then to do the second one, go variable, but this one is in y2, so I choose 2, and we're plugging in 8. Okay, so if I work these two out, that's what I would get. So we're rounding these to the nearest whole number. So this would round to a score of 9. And this one would round to a score of 7. And there's your notes for section 7.4, linear regression, where we're coming up with 2 different regression lines. Okay, the assignment is 7E, and these answers, or these questions right here. All right, we'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.